Paige Pritchard is the founder of Overcoming Overspending and is a certified life coach who gives women the education, tools, and coaching to stop impulse shopping and overspending. Paige delivers her proven process that has served thousands of women through her group coaching program, Overcoming Overspending, along with her top-rated podcast, the Money Love Podcast. Welcome, Paige.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Well, it's fun to have you back again. I love talking about this whole concept of overspending because I think women are particularly susceptible to it, maybe. But I also think that society sends us messages that women's spending ought to be scrutinized more than men's spending, right?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And I'm glad we're starting off with this because I think it is important to note that many studies have been done that show that men struggle, if we want to use that word, they struggle with their spending just as much as women do, meaning that they impulsively shop as much as women do, they overspend as much. And typically when they do, on average, they're spending more. The difference, which you kind of pointed out, is what we're spending on. So the categories of things that women are typically, impulse shopping or overspending on tends to be different than men. But you're absolutely right that those category differences, societally, we tend to look at them like, oh, well, the men spend money and they invest in their hobbies and it's fine and it's an investment. And then the women are over here just blowing all the money and spending it all on their manicures and, skincare and getting their hair done. So there really is kind of this stigma with our spending across genders of, the men go out and make the money and then the women, are over here just spending it all and blowing it all. But we all struggle with spending. I tend to mostly help women though, because I will say that it's actually really hard to get a man to get to a point where he has recognition that his spending habits are a problem. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's a lot harder. So I typically do work with women who struggle with overspending and impulse shopping.
Well, we see the memes or the reels on social media that poke fun at women hiding their online purchases, or when the package delivery guy comes, shove everything under the bed and things like that. And that reinforces the idea that women are the ones with the problems. But I will tell you, I have friends whose husbands are the problem online shoppers. One friend in particular, whose husband, she said he has to go on Amazon and buy something every single day. And we have all this crap that we don't need and never use.
Yeah. It's way more common than you think. I mean, I can't even tell you the amount of messages that I get from women who are asking me what do I do about my husband? Because you're right, it is hard. It is hard just because of the programming and conditioning that we receive. It's just so much harder for whatever reason, right or wrong. It's just so much harder for a man to get to a place where he's like, oh, this is actually a problem, because to him, it's packaged up of oh no, well, it's fine. It's your money that you made, even though, there's a variety of different situations of men making money and women making money and how that's managed in the household, right? It's not to say that it's only his money, but it's it's your money. You can do what you want with it, and whatever you decide to do with it, it's going to be responsible. And I'm sure you've thought through it a lot, and I'm sure you're buying something that you're going to use a lot. But there are a lot of situations where it's yes, packages are showing up on the daily. And like I said, when I was talking about that category that men tend to buy in, the category that men tend to buy in a lot are electronics or, gadgets, technology, or equipment for expensive hobbies like golfing and hunting and that sort of thing. So they're spending a lot of money. It's not just the women, but it is when you go on social media, I say, it's pretty hard to go on social media today and not see some sort of meme or some sort of reel about somebody laughing about their shopping addiction, or kind of chuckling about, oh, there's packages showing up every day, right? Whenever it's Black Friday or Prime Day, you see those videos of the husband coming home from work and the wife, has the front porch full of packages, and you see the husband and he's just oh my, so it's just all of that. We absolutely view it as just very lighthearted humor. And of course, yes, it doesn't always have to be that serious. We can see the humor in it, but it also does kind of show you how much of that actually sinks in and how lightly we actually take this issue, which then makes it really hard to know, is this an issue? Or am I just doing what everyone else seems to be doing and everyone else is just laughing about it and chuckling about it? And like, I can't really tell if this is a problem or not.
You work specifically with women who have shopping addictions or overspending problems, and I would love to hear how you got into this type of work.
Yes, good question. Well, I myself really struggled with this in my younger 20s. My kind of claim to fame, so to speak, was the year after I graduated from college. I was in $40,000 of student loan debt, had no savings because I had just got done being a broke college student, started making money for the first time in my life. And I moved back home with my parents for a year. And the deal kind of was like, okay, you're going to live here for a year, you're going to save, you're going to get these loans paid off. And that was the plan. That's not what ended up happening. I actually ended up pretty much spending my entire annual salary that year, minus what was taken out for taxes and health insurance and that sort of thing. At the end of that year, my salary was in my closet. It was like I mostly spent money on anything that I could wear. So, like clothes, shoes, handbags, makeup, jewelry, accessories. And at the end of that year, when it came time to move out, I couldn't even afford to move out. And my parents are like, what do you mean you can't move out? Like, what have you been doing for the past year? Because it truly had gotten to the point where I was hiding my behavior. Like, some people ask me, like, well, didn't your parents kind of realize what was going on? And I was hiding my behavior from them. Like, I would go shopping on my lunch breaks at work, and I would wait until they had gone to bed. And then I would go out to the car and I would bring in all the stuff that I had bought from that day into the house and kind of just hide it all over the place. So it was really hard for them to kind of get a sense of like what was happening and what was going on. So when I actually went out to go and find solutions to this problem, I was really discouraged by the amount of advice to fix this problem, and B, like who the advice was actually coming from, because it was typically coming from just like older white men who were giving the advice of like, just stop, which I'm like, thank you
So
so much.
helpful.
That's so helpful. Just stop, and really surface level stuff like, kind of wrap yourself in bubble wrap and like remove all your triggers and don't ever go to a Target again and like stop going to Starbucks altogether. And like just like the typical personal finance advice that I think a lot of us have heard and just get really sick and tired of, because we just know like not only is it not realistic, but this just also isn't the way that I want to be living my life. And so I kind of knew that I was going to have to take it upon myself to really find actual solutions that were addressing why I was doing what I was doing, because I knew that I wasn't just shopping because of the emails that I was getting or because of, who I was following on social media or like the stuff that was happening in my external world. Was that a factor? Of course. But I would say 70 to 80% of it was actually stuff that was going on much, much deeper than that, right? Like the way that I viewed money, the way that I viewed myself, what I actually thought that the shopping and the purchases were going to give me, the fact that I was going through a really hard time emotionally and I didn't have healthy tools to deal with those negative emotions. And so shopping kind of became my emotional crutch. That's the work that I really needed to do to fix this problem. And so kind of came up with like my own solution that's, 4 phases. And that's when Overcoming Overspending was born.
It's interesting because I interview so many people about money related topics, and it's a wide variety of topics from budgeting to getting out of debt to how to invest to how to save for retirement, all those kinds of things. And there is one common thread amongst everyone with the money topics, and it is that it all goes back to mindset. It really goes back to how you relate to money and how you manage your emotions and how you view money and really train yourself to work with money instead of against it. Because I'll tell you, I know that the stupid advice of, well, just cut up your credit cards. A, that's not realistic. We need our credit cards for some things. And B, cutting up the credit card doesn't solve the problem.
Yeah, it doesn't ultimately take away the emotional pain that you're experiencing, that you're using shopping to numb or buffer. It doesn't give you the tools of, okay, well, how do you actually, like, this is a big thing that I help my clients with. I call it the urge to splurge, right? Like, how do you actually learn just to allow the urges that you feel to spend money that you didn't plan to spend, or that like goes against your own good? Like, just addressing the thing in your external environment doesn't do that work for you, right? Like, that's ultimately where the work is. And that's why I say, yes, of course, like, I mentioned my 4-phase process. The first phase in my process is, I call it elevating your environment. So it is kind of like taking a look at your environment and being like, let's just address some low hanging fruit. Is there anything in my external environment that I can just do immediately, right out of the gate, right now, that's just going to make my life a little bit easier, that's going to limit triggers for now, so that I don't have to be using as much willpower to do the thing that I want to be doing with my money? So yes, of course, like, that is part of it. But to your point, that's where most people stop. Like, that's how far most people go. Most people do that, and then they think, okay, like, I've done it. Like, that should be all that I have to do. And that's what I see so often. I'm sure you hear this a lot too, is like, well, I did the thing. Like, I cleaned some things up, and like, I unsubscribed here, and I unfollowed this, and I made a budget, and I'm still engaging in the same patterns and the same behaviors. And to your point, it's like, well, that's because your environment and your budget have very little to do with your day-to-day habits and behaviors. It's the mindsets that you have that are driving those behaviors. It's how you react and respond to your emotions that are driving those behaviors. And so that's why those are the second two parts of, or the, stage 3 and 4 of my process, is that deeper part, right? I describe it like an iceberg. I'm like, you're going to have the 10% above the water. That's the low hanging fruit that you can see. Yes, it's a part of the puzzle. It's a part of the equation. We got to do it. But once we do that, you can't do what most people do and just stop there, right? Which is the environment and managing your money. You have to go deeper. You have to go to that bottom 90, 80% mass of the iceberg that's under the water that you can't see. It's not so obvious, but it's there. And it's a huge driver in why you're doing what you're doing, which is the mindset and the emotions.
Do you find that the women that you work with develop shopping addictions or shopping problems over time, little by little, where it kind of creeps up on them? They start spending more and more and more? Or do you find it's more common that maybe there's some sort of trigger in their life, something big happens, and they find the solution of shopping, and then that's what they lean into immediately?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's so interesting because I've seen both. And I really think it depends on A, the individual, and B, like, what's happening in the individual's world and environment. Shopping can progress, and developing an addiction to shopping is going to progress just like any other addiction would, like to alcohol, or an addiction to sugar, or any other substance or behavior. It's going to start off where you do it, you get that initial dopamine hit. It feels so good. It feels amazing. Brain wants more of that. It's going to keep going back to the thing that it knows is going to give it the dopamine and give it the pleasure. But the more that you do it, the more that you engage in it, your dopamine receptors are going to start to get downregulated, which means you have to be doing more of it. So like, it's just like alcohol, right? Where it's like, I used to be able to get a buzz with one glass of wine, and now I have to drink the whole bottle. Or it used to be a bottle would do the trick, and now it's 2 bottles, right? It's the same thing with shopping, where it's like, I used to be able just to go and maybe like do this one trip and maybe buy this one thing, or like spend within this amount. And now it's like, I'm shopping consistently on a daily basis. I'm having to spend more. I'm having to buy more just to get that same high that I got initially in the beginning. And also too, I will say, like you said, there can be life events that definitely trigger our dependency on wanting to kind of go back and default to a substance. So, if you're going through, if you've experienced loss and you're going through a lot of grief, if you're going through divorce, if, just any type of loss, any type of stressful event, job loss, postpartum is something that I see a lot. It's kind of funny because it's these chapters where you logically, this is a period of my life where I should probably be really like cutting back my spending. Like I lost my job, or my spouse or partner lost their job, or we're moving, or I'm postpartum and my pay is like, logically, I shouldn't be spending, but you're going through so much emotional turmoil that the floodgates just kind of open, and the emotional brain kind of takes over and overrides that logical brain. So it can happen both ways. I see both. It just kind of depends on like the person and the situation.
Well, I think there's also a tendency on the part of a lot of people, if they are experiencing financial difficulties and they're telling themselves, I should be spending less. I know I should be spending less. There is a tendency to say, but I'm already in so much trouble with my finances that adding a little bit more onto it is not even going to make a difference. So this one purchase, it's not even going to matter in the long run, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I call this the screw it mindset, because oftentimes like when I talk to my clients like that's the exact term that they use. Is they're like, I'll be in a store and like I know, like I'm already in $10,000 of credit card debt and I know that I shouldn't add any more, but then I'm like looking at this thing that I want to buy and my brain just goes, screw it, just get it. Like what's another $100 on top of 10 grand of credit card debt? So I call this the screw it mindset. And I always say like one of the first places that is important that you start out when you're looking to kind of turn around your financial situation, whether it's changing your spending habits, getting yourself out of credit card debt, whatever it is a lot of people, I think this is just human nature, and this is what we do with anything often, is we're always kind of like standing at the base of the mountain and like looking up at the top of the mountain and fixating on how huge the mountain is and how far we have to go. And oh my God, this is so far. It's going to take me so long. It's going to be so hard and so uncomfortable. And so when you're focusing on like the huge, massive journey that you have to take, it is going to feel too overwhelming. And your brain's just going to be like, this is going to be too much, too hard. Why try? Screw it. Just add a little bit more. And so what I always say is like, before you're actually just like looking at the top of the mountain, step one is a very important step that a lot of people forget about, which is what I simply call stop the bleeding. Like that's step one. Like before you start worrying about like, okay, let me make a plan and let me do, like, what's my roadmap going to be and how much am I going to put towards it and how long is this going to take? Like before we get to any of that, step one is stop the bleeding, which means you simply focus on, okay, for this month only, I'm just not going to let these numbers get any bigger. Like I'm not going to focus on like getting them smaller or making a plan or whatever. I'm not going to focus on how far I have to go. I'm literally just going to take the first step of stopping the bleeding and not letting this get any bigger, which comes with getting yourself out of that screw it mindset. It is like a death like by a thousand cuts situation, right? Because if you're doing it once, like if you're falling into the screw it mindset once, I guarantee you that that's happening consistently, right? Where you're like, screw it, it's just $10. Screw it, it's just 50. Screw it, it's just $100. And then you're doing that, consistently throughout the month. And then when it's all said and done, you thought it was just adding $50 to your credit card bill, but you've been doing that all month. So it actually added $1,000 to your credit card bill. And now you're $11,000 in credit card debt, not $10,000. And you can just see how quickly this can compound and how fast it can get away from you. And so, yeah, part of it is just, you got to get yourself out of that screw it mindset and remind yourself like every little step is a step in the right direction. But for now, all I need to be focused on is just stopping the bleeding. Yeah.
So, for any woman who is listening to this and the message is really resonating, she's recognizing in herself that she does this emotional shopping thing and she knows that something has to happen. Where can she start to escape the emotional shopping?
Yeah. Great question. So part of this is one, understanding that learning the skill of actually being with your emotions and sitting with your emotions is actually a skill. And it's not something that a lot of us are taught how to do. And it's not something that a lot of us have been programmed to act to respond to our emotions, right? Most of us as children were given the message or taught the message, again, this is especially for women, that big, uncomfortable, messy emotions are inconvenient to people, that they are messy, that they're unbecoming, that it's not ladylike, that you're going to scare people, that you're going to like put people off or whatever. And so because of that, a lot of us have just learned to kind of like bottle up emotions, don't ever show our emotions, don't ever complain, nothing can ever be wrong. And so not only do we kind of villainize our emotions in a sense of like, oof, like something big and kind of uncomfortable and scary is coming up. So you have all that programming and conditioning, and then you marry that in with just the message of consumer culture, which is that the goal is to be happy 100% of the time, and you should never feel bad. You should never feel uncomfortable emotions. And if you do feel uncomfortable emotions, well, there must be something wrong with you. And oh, so conveniently, I have this product that I can sell you that will fix this emotion that you're feeling and will make you feel better 100% of the time. So, and then what it comes to is really kind of like learning the skill of feeling your feelings, which essentially what that looks like is when big, scary, uncomfortable emotions come up, you don't make it a problem that they're there. You don't make yourself wrong for experiencing them. You understand, like, this is just part of it. This is just part of being a human. This is just the 50% that doesn't feel good, that doesn't feel great. And then you allow the emotions to be there before you immediately put something in front of you. And this could be shopping, this could be anything else. And oftentimes we don't just have one. Most of the women that I work with have multiple kind of vices, whether it's like shopping, eating, alcohol, sugar, social media, any form of distraction, anything that you are using to distract yourself from your life and to distract yourself from your emotions. And so the process is really learning how to kind of catch yourself, be with those emotions, allow them to be there, process them, have the emotion serve the purpose that it's there to serve, and not try to like immediately just brush it away and try to distract yourself from it with shopping. There is more to it than that, but that's just a very like simplistic kind of quick, like that's the process, right? It's just learning how to be a more skilled feeler. And I often, we can end with this. I often say like, you don't, like the problem that you think that you have, right? If you think, oh, I have an overeating problem, I have an over shopping problem, I have an over drinking problem, that's not your problem, right? Like that's actually your symptom of what the actual problem is, right? The problem is what we were talking about earlier. The problem is probably either tied back to a mindset issue or an emotional issue. And so when you can realize, oh, the shopping isn't the problem, the shopping is the symptom. So instead of trying to go out and solve for that, I need to actually solve what the actual problem is. It's a massive light bulb moment, because then you'll stop putting effort and energy into trying to solve the thing that's not actually the problem. You'll start addressing the thing that is the true root cause problem.
Tell us about your free masterclass that I'm going to drop into the show notes with a link so everyone can get to it.
Yeah. So it's a masterclass called Escape Emotional Shopping. So you can get access to that at overcomingoverspending.com/escape. But it's about an hour and a half masterclass where I really walk you through kind of that last part that we were talking about in our conversation. Instead of giving you like the 5-minute version where I said there's kind of a lot more to it, like this masterclass will give you the more to it. So if you definitely see yourself in this conversation, you're like, I'm absolutely an emotional shopper. Shopping's my emotional crutch. I tend to shop when I'm sad or mad or upset or just feeling a lot of feelings that I don't want to have to face and feel. This masterclass can absolutely help you address those emotions. It'll save you so much money. You'll stop trying to shop your emotions away. And again, that's at overcomingoverspending.com/escape.
Well, your masterclasses are top notch, so I'm going to encourage everyone to go check it out. Paige, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you for having me.